So what kinds of questions should you put in your reading survey when you're trying to get to know your students and get a sense of what type of readers they are, what are their attitudes toward reading, how you can use their interest to motivate them, and what are their reading habits at home? Well, stick around. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. My name is Avia Kelly, and this is my YouTube channel, Literacy in Elementary Schools, improving how students read, write, and communicate. First of all, let me just say, reading is probably the single most important predictor of student success later on in life. So you do want to put energy and time into understanding how to motivate and engage and create even situational interest for your students when you're doing reading activities, whether it's for literacy block or any other subject area, because reading encompasses everything, right? So I propose that you at least look at what their reading habits are, their reading attitudes, and their interests. And so I'm going to just throw out some questions that you might put into your survey. Now, bear in mind that these are elementary school kids, and so it ranges from 1st to 5th grade. So 1st grade surveys might have pictures that the kids circle when they're talking about their interests. And in 5th grade, you might just write the words and ask them to put a check next to whichever topics interest them. So you're going to have to gauge, based on your grade level, how to make this survey. First things first, you want to get a sense of what their reading habits are. For example, do your students read outside of school? This is really important. So you might ask, do you read when you're at home? For how long? Where else do you read? Maybe at the doctor's office, at the playground when they're tired. I don't know. Your kids will be very creative in telling you where and when they read. Sometimes they'll say at church. It just depends on what their outside of school activities look like. Now, for their attitudes, you want to get a sense of how they feel about reading. So questions that you could ask to get to the core of this is, do you like to read? Do you like being read to? Do you like reading for your siblings or for other people? Do you like receiving books as gifts? Do you like giving books to friends as gifts? Because this gives you a sense of if it's important to them or not. Do you have a library card? Do you like to go to the library? And that's kind of a little bit of habit and attitudes combined. Also, you want to find out what topics interest them. And I have a whole list. So you might want to, as I said, do pictures or ask these and just check boxes, but you get the idea. Do you like to read about sports? Do you like to read cartoons? About music? Reptiles? I have a list. Animals, cars, ghosts, ships, bugs, cooking, nature, art, and the list goes on and on and on. But you want an exhaustive list for this one because you really want to tap into what different texts you want to be having in your classroom in the background for children to choose from. But you also want to make sure everybody is represented in the selection that you have. And so, and when you're teaching in other content areas, you can pull in and say, Tommy likes to read about flying, and maybe Tommy could tell us a little bit about the Wright brothers or whatever that content area that you're covering. But the idea is you get a more holistic view by asking all these questions and getting a sense of how you can support reading at home. Maybe you found out that 70% of your students don't read at home, and maybe you might come up with a way to initiate that. Or perhaps the reason they don't like to read is because they're having problem decoding unfamiliar words. They're struggling. It's such a task. They're not comprehending. So you will have to know as a teacher how to use this information and how to build that interest and to promote that motivation and engagement, and how you can facilitate the best learning and reading opportunities for your students. But these surveys are wonderful. They help in so many ways, and you can make a difference in a child's success. So let's get to it.